I'm David Fischer, Executive Director at Tacoma Arts Live, and we're going to do something fun and different for everybody today. And that is, we're going to have a Zoom chat with Emma Brock, who is one of the ensemble leads in a show that we'll be bringing to Tacoma. It's The Office, the musical parody. And so we're excited to be doing that. And this is the first, we hope, of several artist interviews that we'll be posting for everybody to take a deeper dive and understand all of the people behind the shows that we bring to Tacoma. So let me introduce Emma. Hi, Emma.
Hi, David. How are you?
I am surviving.
Yeah, how's the great state of Washington doing?
The great state of Washington continues with its Pacific Northwest tradition. It has been
Especially
raining.
in April. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. How about you? Where do you live?
I am currently in New York City, so kind of what they say, the epicenter. I am in my new apartment that me and my husband actually moved into in December.
Okay.
And we live on the island of Manhattan, but we live at the very top, which is like Washington Heights, but the neighborhood is called Inwood. So we're up in Inwood right now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, there's no, hospitals around here. So we're just like living our normal lives in New York City, at home.
Are you able to get out and
Yes.
walk around a little bit? And
we're lucky enough here to have a couple parks in the neighborhood, and so we're able to walk those pretty easily that are right on the water line, and we've got great grocery stores and pharmacies. So I'm sure on the news New York seems like it's really big and scary, but right now it's just our neighborhood surviving and doing their errands and doing what's best for them right now.
Yeah. Like anywhere, it's
exactly
a series of neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, that's all America is, right?
That's right. As Tip O'Neill said, all politics is local, and that's where we live, So.
Exactly. Yeah,
well, I'm glad you and your husband are staying safe and taking care of yourselves. So
thank you.
Well, with so many of the events that we bring to Tacoma, they are part of a touring network of shows, and I'm always so impressed with the talent and the backgrounds of the people involved in those productions, and The Office, the musical parody, is no exception. You are going to be playing Michael Scott, the Steve Carell character, and crazy narcissist, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that isn't a redundant description, but let's go back, though, before we talk about The Office. Why don't you talk about your theater experience before? And I know you've been in off-Broadway shows, you've done work with Disney, you've done work on cruise lines, which I'm sure is on the top of your list right now.
They say cruise lines is a lot like self-isolating. You live where you work and you work where you live. So I'm just back on my cruise life.
That's great. Well, tell us a little bit about your back, and then there's a particular show that I kind of want to dive into with you.
Absolutely. I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, home of Michigan State, and I grew up loving musical theater and theater in general. I'm sure all of us theater nerds have, and I grew up going to different shows and seeing touring productions that came to the Wharton Center in East Lansing, and I just remember thinking, like, that is amazing. And then when I got to high school, I started to truly pursue it, and I was like, wow, this is something that I have to do the rest of my life. I'm sure as much as all theater people are. And I went to Otterbein University, which is in Columbus, Ohio, where I got my BFA in musical theater. And in 2012, I moved to New York and started pursuing this acting thing full time. I feel lucky and blessed enough that I am a working actor, and I can pay the bills that way. And in that, I've done, The Office is now my 5th tour. I've done a couple here and there. Sister Act, the musical, I did a national tour and then the international tour. I worked on Disney Cruise Line. I've just had like a lot of different experiences as an actor, and one that I'm working towards. You know, all of this is to be a working actor, hopefully on Broadway one day. So yeah, so I'm working towards that and feel really good about where I am and how my trajectory has gone. Is, you know, I'm just a little bit here and there, and it's been great.
I love hearing your description of what the working actor process is. And I would maybe say that part of that is to always be a student, you know?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I really hear that in your description. And there's something very powerful and fulfilling and humbling about always being a student, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
I mean, just with every new production or every new contract you get, just learning the world in which it lives in is fascinating and exciting. You know, doing The Office again meant researching and rewatching The Office and reliving what kind of world that was, and where were we economically, and where were we like personally with our relationships. And um, doing that is always fascinating. And then learning to be a better actor on top of it is like a huge learning curve. Everything is changing. We're doing Zoom auditions now, we're touring, we're just enhancing my craft as much as possible.
Yeah, that's great. You know, Paul Newman always said he never stopped learning, he never stopped teaching himself, he never stopped being a student. And I think that's one of the greatest things about being an actor.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
that's great to hear. One of the shows in your past was an unusual play and musical called A Man of No Importance, and the book for which was written by Terrence McNally, who is one of the nation's great sort of second half of the 20th century playwrights. We just lost him to COVID-19. And it's a sad loss for the American theater.
Yeah.
But the show, which is really a wonderful story, it was actually first a movie in 1994 with Albert Finney and won lots of awards in and of itself as a movie. But tell us, what was that experience like? What is that musical like? A lot of people probably don't know that, but it's a wonderful story.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and the music is done by those who wrote Ragtime as well. So with Terrence McNally and their writing, it really is a beautiful, beautiful story about trying to be your own person in a world that doesn't accept you for who you are. And you kind of see that in all different forms, but we really follow the lead, Elfie, and how he's, you know, a bit creative and eccentric and loves Oscar Wilde,
Mhm.
and how he fits into 1960 Dublin, Ireland. Which, if you loved Oscar Wilde back then, and like what they presume he, you know, insinuates that he's gay, is like very hard for anyone in that time. Um, and I think that Terrence McNally took the words of people who felt like they were trapped or they're small, and just made these poetic like verses. And like I'm just thinking of that first scene where you know, Alfie is literally reading poetry to all the people that he comes encounter with, because he's a bus driver, and just how beautiful like he wanted to make the world, and how creative and like fun he wanted life to be, and how not all the world caught up with that very much, and some people really treasured it and loved it. And doing that show, I mean, was incredible. We had an incredible Elfie, and he was truly like a ringleader to us, a man named Dirk Lombard in, I think, North Carolina. And like, just like Elfie brings everyone together and says like, we can make art, we can make music, and that's beautiful. And so that's what that show meant to me, was just just loving your community and trying to love yourself, and like what kind of art you want to put out there.
Yeah, right. And how we don't have to live solely by our labels as bus driver or postman or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
but that we have a whole sense of what it means to be expressive as a
Yes.
human,
Yeah.
and to not let that be put into a small dark corner of ourselves, but to be brought out every day,
Yeah.
no matter what we do for a living, and
Mm.
really celebrate our own self-expression and our channeling of the great works, right?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful, wonderful show. So what a great experience.
It was,
Well,
and then of course Terrence McNally. There's a great documentary him on PBS, and I just watched that after he passed away, and it sounded like he was just getting started. He just had a play on Broadway last year, and winning the band's visit, and yeah, it's shocking and it's hurtful. And watching that documentary just reminded me of amazing works he's been doing his entire life.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. So why don't we dive in a little bit and tell us about the production team behind The Office, the musical, and what your experience has been bringing that to the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. The Office is written by Bob and Tobley McSmith, and they are two clowns, two big old clowns here in New York. Two guys here who have written a couple musical parodies before. They did the Friends, a musical parody. They did 90210 and Saved by the Bell. And they brought in a man named Asaf who wrote all the music. And so they opened the show Off-Broadway in 2018. And then I didn't come along until 2019 when I auditioned around this time last year, and they were looking for a Michael Scott for the tour, and it worked out. I was cast. It was one of those auditions that didn't seem possible, and I had to come back 2 different times that day, and it was like whirlwind audition experience type of thing. And but I was lucky enough that they were like, well, we want you for Off-Broadway for a month, and then we're going to send you out on the tour. And we rehearsed for about 2 weeks, and then we hit the road. And yeah.
Wow.
Fast and Furious, right? Any kind of comedy, right? Don't over rehearse it.
Yeah, keep it loose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we have been touring on and off since then. We started in Toronto, we did the Northeast, we did a lot of the Midwest, and we were in Texas by the time this all kind of came to a close. But we have a great touring company. It's a small one. It's 15 people. So we have 10 actors altogether. 8 of them are on stage. So 8 of us play all 20, 30 characters of the Office show on stage. And we have 2 swings, a wardrobe person, a company manager, a stage manager, an audio person, and our head carpenter. So we travel on bus all around this US, bringing the Office, and it's a blast. I have to tell you, I love the TV show The Office, and so getting to play these characters every night is very, very fun. And those who love The Office themselves, the true fans, just think this is the most hilarious thing. We're taking all 9 seasons and we're kind of condensing them into 2 hours of musical and costume changes and character changes and wigs, and we're just running around having a good time reminiscing on memories of The Office.
Wonderful. So what's it been like for you, one, to kind of do a gender bend on this, and also to play someone who is so well known in kind of people's psyche, right?
It's intimidating, actually. I think it's intimidating in both sense. I think that people want Steve Carell, so it feels intimidating in that sense, and they want a man as Michael Scott. I walked on stage one night and I heard someone in the audience go, "Michael Scott's a woman?" Like, they didn't know. And when you're walking out for the first time, it feels intimidating, but I also feel like it's the right choice for this role. I think that Michael is, he could say these jokes in the time that it aired, but I think that we have evolved and we know what is PC and not PC to say. And Michael is saying all these sexist, racist kind of things, and why not have it from a woman? And maybe it'll be funnier, and maybe we can poke fun at the fact that he is a little bit of a sexist, but you don't want to hear it from a man on stage. You want to hear it from some kind of woman, but
some kind of woman.
Some kind of woman, the only kind. But all in all, like, I have a blast with it. I think that once the audience understands that it's all a parody, it's all a joke, the whole show is one big joke, I think they start to realize that it doesn't matter who plays these roles. You're seeing the characters that you want on stage, and you're hearing the words that you love, and the audience is just laughing along with you. Like, I'm a woman as Michael Scott. We're not trying to fool anyone here, so let's all laugh along.
Right. That's great. Any particular number in the show that is sort of your musical favorite?
I think, like I was saying before, the audience, sometimes they understand that it's a parody and that we're all just joking around here. And sometimes they think, well, maybe I'm watching a musical. This is a very serious musical. But then the third number is, that's what she said. So literally taking the most famous quote from The Office and making it a musical number. It's just, the whole musical number are the characters of The Office saying these sexual innuendos, and Michael Scott trying his hardest not to sing "That's What She Said." And it's a blast. It's a blast. And, Michael wants to say it for everything, but he has Jan, who's the corporate leader, on stage. And so once the audience hears all those jokes, they're in it to laugh and to have fun with us.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it just rolls right from there.
Good. So you've got people doubling in different characters, and anybody that you want to talk about who is channeling surprisingly or shockingly the character, and who's kind of nailing it in a way that he takes your breath away every once in a while?
I would say all of the actors are truly, truly, truly fun. And so, just doing all these different characters is a blast. We have one guy who plays Toby, which is Michael's enemy, and then the next scene he plays Creed Branton, who's the little kooky guy older kooky guy in the office. And so you see him in one scene. He has like 8 different characters, and he's just changing them every scene. And so I think the audience gets to have fun being like, oh, that guy, oh, he was Toby, oh, now he's Creed, now he's this guy. And he just nails it. He is Toby. He's like this schleppy guy who walks around this. It's great. They're all hilarious.
That's not an easy task to pull off. Having done rep theater for a number of years, there would be times where you might be in 3 or 4 shows at the same time. And I remember standing off stage a few times going,
which one?
And I'm looking down at my costume and going, oh, that's right. Okay, now I know where I am. But doing that all in one show is even more condensed and kind of crazy making. So that's wild.
Yeah, I think in this parody, we have over 95 quick changes that we do. So that's some of these people are playing 5+ characters and different wigs and different costumes. And I'm sure you know that a costume kind of informs your movement and how you move. And I'm sure, the ladies who have to wear heels, they feel, a little more empowered. And then they jump to a man with a wig, and they're, trying to butch it up as much as possible.
That's right. That's great. So you talked about everybody being kind of jammed together on a bus. How do you stay sane? How do you have your own privacy? How, what are some
Yeah.
of the ways that people survive being on a national tour on a bus for how many weeks roughly?
Oh
Before you
man,
have
we had been going for about 12 weeks or so. So
yeah.
we do this for long stints, 4 month stints at a time.
Mhm.
Um, you're right. It's about finding something that makes you sane and makes you feel like you're a human and you have your own personal space, because these 15 people are my only friends, and I travel with them and I work with them and I sleep in the same room as some of them because we have roommates. And it can feel hard to like not to be away from your family and then also feel kind of trapped in this, bubble of we're going here, we're going there. Um, but it's all, I mean, for me, it's all about like connecting with people outside of this world, the office world, the touring world. It's about FaceTime. I mean, we all know this now. It's about FaceTiming and seeing people. It's about me calling my husband all the time and connecting with my mother and texting her, because I don't get to see my family when I'm out on the road. And then it's finding like what makes me happy, and what makes me happy is Oreos. So I eat lots and lots of Oreos on the road.
That's great. Um, any final thoughts that you want to share with folks about this production and about um, coming out to see the show when it arrives?
Yeah. I've said this before, I love The Office, the show, and I love the TV show, and I love The Office, the musical. We take this TV show and we condense it down, and it's just a little love letter to Office fans. Those who maybe grew up watching it or watched it with a significant other, I hope that you can come back to the theater and be reminded of why you loved it. Maybe you loved it because you loved Michael Scott. Maybe you loved it because Jim and Pam fall in love. Maybe you loved it because of all the antics that they get into, but we have it all. And you get to come and reminisce and forget about your problems and just have this silly, fast-paced, fun show for 2 hours where you can forget everything. And that's what I hope that people come see the show for, is that they love The Office and they want to be entertained and have fun. And when we come to these different cities and I meet people who love, love, love this show, it just makes me more proud, and I want to share it more with everyone else. So I can't wait to come to Tacoma. I
We
really
are
can't.
ready.
I
Yeah, we
love the state of Washington, and I'm so excited we do have a date coming up and that we will be back on the road again.
great. Well, Emma, thank you for taking the time to talk to me and to share some backstage experience for our audience. I've been talking to Emma Brock, who's one of the ensemble leads, plays Michael Scott in The Office, the musical parody, and we'll be so excited to welcome that to Tacoma, coming up here pretty soon, we hope. And in the meantime, please stick with Tacoma Arts Live, both online and via your email inbox, and stay apprised of everything that's going on and all the streaming options that we have. Our Civil Rights Legacy Tour is up for streaming right now, so you can see all of the good work that our education team has been doing to help tell the stories of civil rights around the United States. So lots going on, even while we are sheltered in place. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks. Bye-bye.